The notification on my phone lit up the darkness of my hotel room at 11:47 p.m. A video message from my sister-in-law, Sarah. My thumb hovered over the play button, knowing that whatever was on that recording would either vindicate me or destroy what little remained of my reputation. For 6 months, I had been living in exile from my own family. 6 months since my wife Elena had been released from federal prison and painted me as the villain in her story. According to her version of events, I had abandoned her during her darkest hour, refused to visit, stopped taking her calls, and moved on with my life while she rotted behind bars. The truth was far more complex and far more dangerous. I pressed play, and Sarah's whispered voice filled the small room. "David, you need to see this. Elena's been drinking and she's saying things that don't match what she told us before. I'm recording everything." My heart pounded as I realized what Sarah had captured. Tonight was the annual Morrison family reunion, the gathering I had been banned from attending because of Elena's lies. But Sarah had smuggled in her phone, and what she had recorded would change everything. I had spent months gathering evidence, following paper trails, and uncovering a conspiracy that reached far beyond a simple embezzlement case. Tonight, that evidence would finally see the light of day. Tonight, the truth about what really happened during Elena's imprisonment would be revealed, and it would prove that I wasn't the abandoner. I was the one who had risked everything to save her. 8 months earlier, I had been living what I thought was a perfect life. Elena and I had been married for 12 years, running a successful consulting business together, planning for the future we had always dreamed of. Then the FBI knocked on our door at 6 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. "Elena Morrison, you're under arrest for wire fraud, money laundering, and conspiracy." I watched in shock as they handcuffed my wife in our kitchen, her coffee mug still steaming on the counter. The charges were staggering. Elena had allegedly been siphoning money from our clients' accounts for over 3 years, creating fake invoices and phantom companies to hide the theft. "This is a mistake," I told the lead agent. "Elena would never—" "Mr. Morrison," he interrupted. "We have bank records, email communications, and witness testimony. Your wife has been running a sophisticated financial fraud operation." But as I sat in the empty house that night, surrounded by the FBI's search warrant debris, something didn't add up. I knew Elena better than anyone. She was meticulous, honest to a fault, incapable of the kind of deception they were describing. That's when I started my own investigation. I spent the next 3 months diving deep into our business records, following money trails that the FBI had apparently missed. What I discovered was terrifying. Elena hadn't been running a fraud operation. She had been investigating one. Our business partner, Marcus Webb, had been the real thief. Elena had discovered his scheme and had been gathering evidence to expose him when he struck first, framing her for his crimes. The fake companies, the phantom invoices, the suspicious transactions, they were all Marcus's creation, carefully designed to implicate Elena while covering his tracks. But when I tried to visit Elena in prison to share this discovery, I was told she had put me on her no-contact list. When I tried to call, the calls were blocked. When I sent letters, they were returned unopened. Elena had cut me off completely, and I couldn't understand why. Unless she thought I was part of Marcus's conspiracy. The breakthrough came when I received an unexpected call from Elena's cellmate, a woman named Rosa who had been released on parole. "Your wife asked me to contact you," Rosa said during our clandestine meeting at a diner outside the city. "She couldn't risk communicating directly because she thinks your phones are tapped." "Tapped? By who?" "Marcus Webb has connections everywhere. Police, prosecutors, even some of the prison guards. Elena discovered that he's been monitoring all her communications, waiting to see if she would try to expose him." Rosa slid a small piece of paper across the table. "Elena wrote this for you. She's been pretending to hate you to protect you. If Marcus thinks you're estranged, he won't see you as a threat." I unfolded the paper with trembling hands. Elena's familiar handwriting was cramped but clear. "David, I know you're investigating. Stop. Marcus has people who will hurt you if you get too close. I'm gathering evidence from inside. Trust no one in our family. Some of them are involved. Wait for my signal. I love you. E." The words hit me like a physical blow. Our family was compromised. People I had trusted my entire life were part of Marcus's conspiracy. That's why Elena had been so careful, why she had cut off all contact. She was protecting both of us by making everyone believe our marriage was over. "There's more," Rosa continued. Elena's been recording conversations with other inmates who worked for Marcus on the outside. She's building a case, but she needs help from someone Marcus doesn't suspect. What kind of help? There's a safety deposit box. Elena hid evidence there before her arrest, but she needs someone to retrieve it. Someone who can get it to the right people without Marcus finding out. Rosa handed me a key. Box 247 at First National Bank on Elm Street. Elena says the contents will prove everything, but you have to be careful. Marcus has been watching you, waiting for you to make a move. I pocketed the key, feeling its weight like a loaded weapon. When do I make the move? Tonight, at the family reunion, while everyone's distracted. That evening, I sat in my car outside the bank, staring at the key Rosa had given me. The family reunion was happening just a few miles away, and I knew that by the end of the night, everything would change. Either I would expose Marcus and vindicate Elena, or I would end up dead in a ditch somewhere. The safety deposit box contained more than I had imagined. Financial records, recorded phone conversations, photographs of Marcus meeting with known criminals, and most damning of all, a confession from one of Marcus's associates admitting that Elena had been framed. But there was something else in the box that made my blood run cold. Surveillance photos of me, taken over the past 6 months. Marcus had indeed been watching me, documenting my movements, waiting for me to lead him to Elena's evidence. I realized then that I was walking into a trap. The family reunion wasn't just a social gathering. It was Marcus's endgame. He would be there, along with his allies in our family, ready to silence me permanently once I revealed what I knew. But I also realized something else. Elena was counting on me. She had spent months in prison, enduring isolation and danger, all to gather the evidence needed to bring Marcus down. I couldn't let her sacrifice be in vain. I called Sarah, Elena's sister, who had always been suspicious of Marcus's sudden wealth and influence in the family business. "Sarah, I need you to do something for me, and I need you to trust me completely." "David, what's going on? Everyone thinks you abandoned Elena." "That's exactly what we wanted them to think. Elena and I have been working together to expose a conspiracy that involves some of our own family members. Tonight at the reunion, I'm going to send you evidence that will prove everything. This sounds crazy. I know it does, but I need you to record everything that happens tonight, especially anything Elena says about our marriage. Can you do that?" There was a long pause. "David, if you're lying to me, I'm not lying, Sarah. Elena's life depends on this, and so does mine." The family reunion was in full swing when I arrived at the community center. Through the windows, I could see my relatives laughing and talking, completely unaware of the drama about to unfold. Elena stood near the buffet table, looking thin and tired, but determined. She caught my eye for just a moment and gave an almost imperceptible nod. Marcus was there too, playing the role of concerned family friend, offering Elena support and sympathy for her terrible ordeal. The sight of him made my stomach turn. Knowing what I now knew about his betrayal, I stayed in my car, watching and waiting. At exactly 9 p.m., I sent Sarah a text message with a link to a secure file sharing site. The message read, "Play this recording for everyone now." Inside the community center, I watched Sarah check her phone, then excuse herself to step outside. A few minutes later, she returned with her laptop, connecting it to the room's sound system. "Everyone, I need your attention," Sarah announced. "David sent something that I think you all need to hear." The room fell silent as Sarah pressed play. Elena's voice filled the space, but it wasn't the Elena they had been listening to all evening. This was a recording from 3 weeks ago, captured during one of her supervised phone calls from prison. "I can't keep lying to my family," Elena's voice said clearly. "David didn't abandon me. He's been risking his life to gather evidence that will prove my innocence. Marcus Webb framed me, and some of our own family members helped him do it." The reaction was immediate and explosive. Gasps, shouts of disbelief, and Marcus's voice rising above the chaos. "This is ridiculous. Elena's obviously having a breakdown." But Sarah wasn't finished. She played the second recording, Marcus himself, captured during a phone conversation with one of his associates, discussing how to handle the David problem permanently. "The husband's getting too close," Marcus's voice said through the speakers. "We need to eliminate him before he finds the evidence Elena hid." The room erupted in chaos. Marcus lunged toward the exit, but my Uncle Tom, a retired police officer, tackled him before he could escape. Other family members who had been part of the conspiracy tried to flee. But Sarah had already called the FBI. Through the window, I watched justice finally beginning to unfold. The FBI arrived within minutes, led by Agent Martinez, who had been secretly working with Elena for months. As I finally entered the community center, the scene was surreal. Marcus in handcuffs, screaming about conspiracies and frame-ups, while several of my own relatives were being read their rights. Elena ran to me, and for the first time in 8 months I held my wife in my arms. "I'm so sorry," she whispered through her tears. "I'm sorry you had to go through this alone." "You weren't alone either," I replied, stroking her hair. "We were always in this together." Agent Martinez approached us, holding a thick folder of documents. "Mr. Morrison, the evidence you and your wife gathered has broken open one of the largest financial fraud cases we've seen in years. Marcus Webb's operation was stealing from dozens of businesses across 3 states. What about Elena's conviction? It will be overturned within the week. She'll be completely exonerated." He paused, looking around the room at the chaos. "I have to ask, how did you know which family members were involved?" Elena answered, "Financial records. Marcus was paying them through shell companies, making it look like legitimate consulting fees. My cousin Janet, Uncle Mike, even my own brother Paul, they all received payments in exchange for information about our business and for helping to frame me." The betrayal cut deep, but it also explained so much. How Marcus had known about our client meetings, our financial strategies, our personal conversations. Our own family had been spying on us for money. Sarah approached us, still shaking from the evening's revelations. "Elena, I'm so sorry. We all believed Marcus when he said David had abandoned you. We thought you were the victim of a heartless husband." "That was the point," Elena replied. "Marcus needed everyone to believe our marriage was over, so David could investigate without suspicion. If our family thought we were estranged, they wouldn't worry about David getting too close to the truth. But the things you said about him tonight, before the recording played," Elena smiled sadly. "I was drunk, and I was tired of lying. I started telling the truth about how much I missed David, how proud I was of his courage. That's when you started recording, right?" Sarah nodded. "You kept saying how David was your hero, how he had risked everything to save you. It didn't match anything you had told us before." Agent Martinez interrupted. "Mrs. Morrison, we're going to need you to testify in the trials. Marcus and his associates are facing federal charges, and your testimony will be crucial." "What about the family members who were involved?" "They'll face charges too, but their cooperation in the investigation may result in reduced sentences." As the FBI led Marcus away, he turned back to look at Elena and me. "You think you've won?" he snarled. "But this isn't over. I have friends you don't know about." Agent Martinez smiled grimly. "Actually, Mr. Webb, we know about all your friends. Your entire network is being rounded up as we speak. It's very much over." Elena squeezed my hand as we watched our nightmare finally come to an end. 6 months later, Elena and I stood in the same community center where the truth had finally been revealed. But this time, we were there for a celebration, the reopening of our consulting business, rebuilt from the ground up with the insurance money from Marcus's fraud, and the support of clients who had stood by us throughout the ordeal. The family members who had betrayed us were serving their sentences, but we had chosen forgiveness over bitterness. Uncle Mike had written us a letter from prison, expressing genuine remorse and asking for a chance to make amends when he was released. Cousin Janet had already begun paying restitution to the clients she had helped Marcus defraud. "Do you ever regret it?" Elena asked as we watched our remaining family members and friends mingle in the same room where our lives had been torn apart and rebuilt. The months of separation, the lies, the danger. I thought about the question seriously. The past year had been the most difficult of our lives, but it had also revealed the strength of our marriage and our commitment to justice. "No," I said finally. "We did what we had to do to protect each other and expose the truth. That's what marriage is supposed to be about, facing the impossible together." Sarah approached us carrying a framed photograph. "I wanted to give you this," she said. "It's from that night, right after the FBI arrested Marcus. Look at your faces." In the photo, Elena and I were holding each other, exhausted but victorious. We looked like soldiers who had survived a war, battle-worn but unbroken. "You two are heroes," Sarah continued. "You risked everything to expose corruption and protect innocent people. I'm proud to be your family." As the evening wound down, Elena and I walked out to our car under a sky full of stars. We had lost some family members, but we had gained something more valuable: The knowledge that our love could survive anything. Sometimes the greatest adventures are the ones that test not your courage in the face of physical danger, but your faith in the people you love most. If this story touched you, subscribe and share it with someone who needs to hear it today. There are stories that change how we see the world, and this is just one of them.